So you probably heard of RenPy side images, the little images that appear next to the say block whenever a character speaks. But how do you actually implement them in your game? In your script.rpy file, you want to create a new transform called transform hide side old, new. In the RenPy documentation, you can basically find the same thing. They called it something different, change transform. I just called it hide side. But the important thing is you need to have a define config.sideImage change transform equals the name of the transformation that shows and hides the side image. So in my case, the old image starts with alpha 1, meaning fully opaque, starts at y-align 1, which means the bottom of the screen, starts at x offset 0, which means it is starting at position 0. Ease 0.3 means that it eases into whatever changes we have here. So x offset negative 900, that means it's going to move to the left, and alpha 0, which means it's going to be fully transparent. The new image that goes in starts at alpha 0, which means it's fully transparent, y-align 1, which means bottom of the page, x offset negative 900, which means it's to the left, ease 0.3, it eases into x offset 0, which means it should be on the page again, alpha 1, which means it's fully opaque. Now that's all well and good, but you actually need side images. So in screens.rpy, we go to screen say, and we want to do a few things on this page. But before we do that, we need to create some images. Now I have here some side images, let's bring that up here, of these characters. And because I'm using Irfan view, it's every time I open these, it puts it in a new window. But essentially, I have, the full body image, essentially, and the side image, which shows up next to the text box, or we want it to show up next to the text box. And then here are the backgrounds for the side image. You'll see those in a bit, but you would have to create these yourself and adjust the dimensions so that it fits your project. But going back to the code, first we're going to do a check. If RenPy loadable and then talk underscore last say who.png directory images, what that does is it checks the images directory of your RenPy game, and it looks for talk underscore the last person that said something. So in this case, with talk underscore ali.png, Ali is the name of the character that I have defined in script.rpy. If we go back to script.rpy, we can see define Ali, character Alexandra, image Ali. This is important. You need to add image Ali so that it knows what side image to display. And the same with every other character that you put in, Grant, Lana, Burns, whatever. So going back to the screens.rpy, if this image is loadable, we're going to add the background of the side image. So again, this background. At fade in is a transformation that I made. Here's the parameters for that transformation if you want to use it for your own project. The next part is unchanged from the default, so you don't have to worry about that. Here, where it says add side image, I think this is also unchanged. You can double check on your ends, but essentially x-align equals 0, y-align equals 1. We're setting this to the bottom left of the screen. The next part, if RenPy loadable, again, talk last say who.png in directory images, we are going to add a little quote. And this is what I mean by quote. It's just a little speech bubble, which I made. You'd have to make something similar. And that slides in using another custom transform called quote slide. You can see the full transform here, and you can use it, adapt as you want, as needed. And we're going to go back to the game. Let's save that and reload the game again. All right, so for every side image that you have, you need to have image, side, and then character. And you can see it slides in from the left, and the background fades in, and then we go to another character. The old one slides to the left, and the new character slides in to the right, and so on and so forth. And if there's no side image for that particular character, it just doesn't show an image and it doesn't show a background. So let's take it from the top. We hit start, Narrator obviously doesn't have a side image. First character does have a side image. Second character has a side image. Third character has a side image. Fourth character does not have a side image. And you can see could not find image burns side. There's a more graceful way to handle that. So if we go back into screens, we will paste this in, indent that, and we're going to change, get rid of talk underscore, and we're going to do underscore side, and then save that. And now you won't see that little error message. So essentially what this does is if, in this case, burns underscore side is loadable, then show the side image. If it's not loadable, then don't show the side image. And the reason why I'm using renpy.loadable is because if I used renpy.exists, it would not search the RPA archive, but with renpy.loadable, it will. So if you have your files in an RPA archive when you export your game, use renpy.loadable. If you don't archive your files when you export your game to markets, then you can just use renpy.exists, and you don't even need to specify the directory. In fact, if you specify the directory, it won't know what to do with that information, and it'll throw an exception. But that's it. If you have any questions, please leave a comment, and I'll get to it when I can. But I hope this helped, and happy developing. This Ren'Py tutorial is brought to you by World Without Reason. Follow Miss Audacity, the only sane mind in an unreasonable world. Help her remember the truth behind an 8-year-old serial murder case in order to save her sister, her friends, and herself. Available on Steam for Windows, Mac, and Linux.